Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This is my top 10 stocks as we head into Tuesday, February 6th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple of clarifications. Number one, the candlestick that you see right there will be moving around. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. Second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So ticker symbol number one, GRRR, and big mover today, which has now led to a good solid pattern here that you got to think a lot of people are watching. And I say a lot of people because when you have lots of people watching the same levels and wondering the same things, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So the first part of this pattern that you got to think a lot of people are watching is right up there around that $1.22 mark as that main area of resistance. You can see that on numerous occasions. Price got up around that area, give or take, sometimes a little bit above, sometimes a little bit below, and just couldn't build or maintain any sort of momentum. So you got to think a lot of people are watching that as the breakout area. And then in terms of support, we got ourselves a trend line in right there. So let me put that green for support. Then maybe make the pattern easier to see. Let's all keep it one color. We have our resistance. We have our support. We have the big explosive move right there. And for you golfers out there, make it a little bit more visual. Put the golf hole down there. And this would be a bull pennant pattern. So there are no guarantees, but is it valid? Is it plausible that if the price comes up here and breaks up through there, like I said, even if you just want to call that a self-fulfilling prophecy type move, but could that break in and of itself just create more additional buying pressure? Absolutely. So if you like stocks down below $2, you like bull pennants, keep an eye on it. Next one here, ticker symbol PHUN. And this one has, it's already started to come back to life before today as the price, was putting in these higher lows here. But today it definitely came back to life in a much bigger way. Not only was there good, solid volume on the day, but just a very strong bullish day here. So overall, there's still work that needs to be done from the bigger picture. As I scroll back, you can see that it's still not at these previous highs where it was before, up there at the 48-cent mark. But it's certainly much closer than where it was when the price was, hovering down around that area. So that's, the bigger picture context with that 48-cent mark. Still a level to watch. But what I'm curious about now is this trend line right here, which the price is basically knocking on the door of right now. So in fact, let me change this just so it stands out a little bit. There we go. So you can see that this is where the price or that trend line is coming from. Whoops. Let me zoom back in here and we can take a closer look at the action. So pretty interesting, pretty exciting action headed into Tuesday because as of now, the price you can see is doing battle with that trend line, which leads to the, exciting question. Can the price break through it? And then with that break, will that gather in more momentum and create a bigger surge to the upside where then potentially that 48-cent mark comes into play, which we talked about earlier. In terms of levels of support, if there are any sort of pullbacks, right now, continue to just watch that purple line there, 50 paired moving average. I know I've been talking about that in past videos, but that remains the case. Continue to watch that, and then also watch the 200 paired moving average right there. But in my opinion, at least the most interesting dynamic about this right now is all about the resistance level right there, and can the price break through it? We'll see what happens. Next one here, ticker symbol PLTR, and in trading world, this is what we would call a gap and trap. Price closed there on Friday, opened right there. Price then ran up as high as right there. And then true story, there were some poor souls that bought the top right there. Hopefully they had a stop loss in because from there was the trap and down it went. So total gap and trap, but at least to look at the glass as half full, the one level of support that you would want to see hold did indeed hold, and that is that purple line right there, which as we just talked about is the 50 period moving average. And you can see the history here did a good job of holding strong. And then once again, here held strong, bit of a bounce. So maybe this downwards movement is over, and maybe this thing is going to get ready to turn back around. Of course, as I've said, there are no guarantees, but it becomes a little bit more plausible at this point, given that the price has started to go sideways. I wish I could say that just because it's gone sideways, that guarantees that this thing's getting ready to head back up. But again, no guarantees. It just makes it a little bit more reasonable to think that way. So moving forward, that purple line there, 50 period moving average, is certainly that main area of support. And then in terms of areas of resistance, got a bit of a resistance trend line right there to keep an eye on. So keep a close eye on that. But overall, yeah, rough day today, gap and trap. At least it did stabilize, but we'll see if the price can try to curl back upwards over the next couple of days. Next one, YTEN. Big, strong move to start the day with a gap up and has been pulling back ever since. But still is in an overall general bullish context. So once again, we have one of these areas where you got to think a lot of people have drawn a trend line, maybe not that exact one, but something relatively similar, which reintroduces that talking point of self-fulfilling prophecies, where if the price can curl itself back around and get a break up through that level, that break in of itself could very realistically create another round of buying pressure and momentum, which is sometimes all you need to create even more buying pressure and momentum. So keep an eye on that dynamic right there from the kind of reversal standpoint. In terms of areas of support, sort of entering into no man's land right now. Perhaps a little bit of a support right here at these previous lows, but more so from the general point of view. Watch that purple line right there, which you now know is a 50-period moving average. And as the name implies, that line is going to move itself higher and higher. So that line will become more and more relevant as Tuesday plays out. So if you like to play more so pullbacks, I think that's the main level to keep a close eye on. But if you're looking to play, kind of reversals and turnarounds, I think that trend line right there adds a lot of value. Next one here, AMC, and the train wreck continues. It was looking like maybe on Friday some sort of bottom was trying to form as it just basically went sideways. But then the opening 30 minutes today wiped away any of those thoughts as the price came down, just blasted through that area of support, and the rest is history. So a lot of updates here need to be done. Just absolute bloodshed. So first level of support is just based on the foundational question, where did the bleeding finally stop today? And that was down there at 360. So no fancy, thinking behind that other than just, like I said, asking yourself a very basic question, where did the bleeding stop? Again, that was at 360. And then in terms of areas of resistance, if this thing does try to bounce back upwards at all, main area that I'd keep a close eye on with any sort of attempted bounce, right up there around $3.76. So keep an eye on that. And it has gotten a little bit of sideways action here as it's kind of started to chop back and forth. But as we've seen, that does not mean that this is the bottom, especially for AMC. But if you are somebody that likes to keep an eye on stocks, that I would certainly call this a cult stock. And the thing with cult stocks is any sort of good news, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be good news. It could be, oh, that's not as bad as what we thought news. Can these send these things, with good solid bounces, which from a trading perspective can present some good opportunities. So AMC, always worth keeping an eye on since it is a cult stock. Got some sideways movement. Is this any sort of bottom? We'll keep an eye on it. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online webinar that I'm offering later on in the week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box, or if you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can use to click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free webinar. Next one here, ticker symbol MARA, and overall rough start to the week as the price has rolled back over, broken down through some key levels. And from a resistance standpoint, nothing new has changed. Still all about that trend line that I drew into place several days ago. So continue to watch out any sort of bounce. But in all actuality, even really before you put too much focus on that trend line, the price first needs to, in the very near term, break back above that 200-period moving average and then the 50-period moving average right there. So as you see there, a lot of resistance levels now hanging overhead if there is any sort of attempted reversal. I mean, that doesn't mean the price can't reverse and make another good move. I'm just saying if it does try to reverse, there's a lot of hurdles in its way currently. As far as areas of support are concerned, there we go. Next level to watch closely would be this former area. So basically right there around the gap close location at 1650, which is getting pretty close to coming into play. And if that level can't quite hold up, next key area after that from our support standpoint would then be down there right around the $16 mark. So if anything, you could just call this a support zone from 1650 down to 16. And then if the price were to actually get down below 16, that would be a very big red flag that something is once again very wrong. But as of now, rough way to start the week, but still 4 days left. So we'll see if the price can get itself turned around. Next one here, ticker symbol AMD. And yeah, rough day today with the pullback mainly from this morning. You can see actually started off very strong and then just a big move to the downside. Price is now trying to recover. And really just depends on kind of your vantage point, because in the very near term, what you have here is actually a bear pennant. Now, that does not, just because something's bullish doesn't mean it's going to go up. Just like in this situation, just because it's bearish does not mean the price is going to roll back over. But in the very near term, I would not be shocked at all if this thing decided to pull back a bit more, and we'll see what happens in that regard. If it does pull back a bit more, then you're going to want to keep a close eye on the pink line there, that 200-period moving average. But overall, the trend is still very strong. So that's where it's kind of a tricky bear pennant, because it's not like this is happening in some sort of very weak context. It is still happening in a bullish context. So in the very near term, that first key level resistance that the price is going to have to fight through right at 175, and then after 175, the much more, apparently stubborn level of resistance right up there around the 179 mark. But yeah, if you were to just say, Clay, tell me about today only, then I'd have to go with the bear pennant pattern. Next one here, ticker symbol TSLA Tesla, and had an absolutely, I was going to say horrible day, but that's actually not true. It had a horrible morning, don't get me wrong. But in all actuality, it didn't have a horrible day because there was, to give credit to, a very nice bounce back upwards. But where it bounced back up to, it's just a classic example of technical analysis, and why charts are certainly worth learning. So again, get signed up for that free webinar. But a rule in charting states that when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So that was a level of support going into today. But when the price broke down below it right there, you would expect to act as resistance. And check it out. What a coincidence. Price bounced all the way back up there. But look where it went sideways, right at that red line. Now, that does not mean that 182 can ever be broken. I'm just saying it makes sense why the price all of a sudden started to struggle at that area after the bounce. So keep an eye on that. And then if the price can push up through there, watch that purple line there closely, which you now know is a 50-period moving average. You can see that's where it was acted as resistance on Friday there. In terms of levels of support, again, that very basic question, where did the bleeding finally stop today? And that was down there at 175.50. So in my mind, 175.50 key level of support moving forward. But all in all, still a rough day here for Tesla. Next one here, ticker symbol SOXS. And this one is now sitting at a very important level, and drew this level into play last week right here around the 486 mark as a support. And actually this morning, for you day traders, congratulations. Anybody that bought that support that I talked about on the opening 30 minutes, you got yourself a very, very nice bounce. So now, granted, it rolled back over, but again, that's why I'm try to add some context. If you're a very short-term day trader, fantastic bounce, rolled back over, and right now it's once again stuck right around this vicinity of the 486 mark. So that's the big question. Is this thing going to bounce? Is history going to repeat itself like I did earlier from today when it got the nice bounce there? Is that going to happen once again? So, of course, not guaranteed, but a valid question to be asking given it has occurred before. If this level does not hold, I'm just going to go ahead and use this level for the newest level of support if it continues on down. Then the next key level to watch will be right down there at 475. But yeah, it's still within that vicinity where I could see some sort of bounce happening. But if this downwards pressure continues, then 475 is going to be a very important level. Next one, ticker symbol TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ market. So if you believe the NASDAQ market is going to go up, this one will also go up. It just allows people access at a much lower price point. And really not a whole lot to talk about. Granted, I want to throw in a trend line here, but from just overarching levels, nothing has changed. Still have 57.84 or 85, we'll call it, as that main overarching level of resistance. In terms of supports, 56.60 still holding strong. Yeah, it was broken earlier today, but that kind of illustrates today did have a strong move because not only was it able to get back up to that level of support, then got back up above it. So like I said, that still holds as support. Nothing new there to report. And then from more of an overarching standpoint, as I've talked about, keep an eye on our moving averages there, which you now know is a 50, and then the 200-period moving average. But what I'm more so curious about, just from a trading standpoint, is this area of resistance right there, via that chart line right there. In other words, could you try to, again, let me make it so it's a little bit different. Could you try to anticipate the break of 57.85? Well, at what point would you want to try to anticipate? Well, any sort of break of that trend line there. Maybe you don't think that's helpful. Maybe you don't think that would add any value. Fair enough. But like I said, I do think that's a trend line that enough people have drawn where it, introduces that, the talking topic of self-fulfilling prophecies. But all in all, good looking chart here. Nice recovery on the day. We'll see if that momentum carries into Tuesday. So that wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here, then definitely get signed up for that free webinar later in the week. It'll be Thursday, February 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there live. I'll take questions and we'll have a good time. As far as the top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, do a couple things for me. Hit that like button, leave a comment below. Those things really help out and I appreciate it. And I thank you in advance for doing that. So go get signed up for that free webinar. Hit the like button, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.